Alright folks, welcome back to the channel. Just gonna go over a little bit about what's been going on. If you're a follower of the channel, you've noticed I haven't posted a video since deer season started. The problem has been, essentially, I've been riding the struggle bus really hard. Not only have I been struggling on the deer season, I've also been dealing with a target panic with shooting the bow. It started last year, but I was able to work through it last year, and then over the summer, I fell off I didn't shoot my bow that much, and it creeped back up on me, and it's been worse now than it's ever been. But I've spent the last few days working, and I ain't gonna say I completely got rid of it, but I've been able to overcome it, and I know how to tell myself, I know how to work through it now. But with all that being said, and I still been hunting. I've had very few opportunities to harvest any deer. And on opening day, me and my wife went and set up out here behind the house. And we had a little spike come through, and I didn't even take my bow with me that day. She was doing hunting, and she wanted to shoot a deer. We got a little 7-point that was still in velvet on opening day. But what we didn't know is, in between, because we went out there that Tuesday and put out corn, picked up the camera, pulled the card or whatever, and he was still in velvet. That morning, opening day, he was sitting at the feeder when we walked out there, and he done lost his velvet. And so he never came in, obviously, because we spooked him out of there. He was literally sitting at the feeder when we walked out there. But and she still had fun. We seen that little spike, it had a bunch of doe come in and blow at us. And then after that, we just been dealing with the pressure of public land. It seems like there's more people hunting public land than there's ever been. Everywhere we go, you got to deal with somebody out on the land, or you can just tell people's been there, and it's been hammered with people. But that being said, and I've been trying to change up the way, finding new spots, and some's worked out, some hasn't. We've done a little bit of river hunting. I hadn't done a whole lot of that simply because of there's just been a bunch of people. It's been still hot, real hot, a bunch of people on the river. A couple days ago, I went to an area, and set up, had some does come in behind me, and they made a loop around me, come around me, got out in front of me. But this is where leading into the target panic. This was, I want to say it's 4 or 5 days ago, the beginning of the week. But she come in, I stopped her, I had a perfect quarter on the way shot, but I don't know how to explain what happens right before I shoot. Something happens, like when I guess it's like I'm expecting to go off when I tell myself I'm gonna shoot, or whatever. I don't know how to explain it, but I've been able to work through it, and I think I got it fixed now. But on this video, and when she came in, I had to squat down to be able to shoot under the canopy, and you'll see it in the video, and the air goes through without hitting nothing. I just flat out missed it, and more likely it's because of my target panic issue that I'm having, and it may be called something else, but it missed her. It flat out missed her. There wasn't a lick of blood on the arrow. On video you can see it, and I guess it's because of the angle of the camera, because the camera was on the right side of the tree and I shot off of the left side of the tree. It looks like it hits her on video, but I walk out there and the arrows don't have a lick of blood on it, you know, and then I use the Zinger fletching and I don't glue it or anything, so if it goes through the deer, you know, and normally it knocks the fletching off. So, and the fletching was still on the arrow, so which as soon as I shot, I knew I missed. I could just tell, like, as soon as it come off the bow, it didn't feel like a good shot, and I did miss her. I mean, it looks like it hits her, but it don't. The video shows it at a different angle. But, you know, and then that just made things worse. I got more discouraged with hunting, or with this issue I was having, you know, and that issue caused me to miss that doe. And, you know, and I started getting down on myself, doubting every decision I was making. So, and it just led me down a rabbit hole of what am I doing and blah, 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 and so on and so on. And it's because I knew I was having that issue, and I went out there and that I allowed that issue to get in between me and that deer. Alright, well, I busted my butt all week trying to get over that. I come out here behind the house during that time and sat out there, and I was like, well, I just want to get out here and I want to see a bunch of deer. And I did. I seen a bunch of doe come in there. I had the opportunities, you know, and plenty of opportunities. I was more or less just wanting to get out there and see deer. That was the whole purpose of me going out here behind the house. Well, leading into yesterday's hunt, I went to an area. I got a bunch of good bucks on camera, and this was our first cold front. I ain't gonna say cold front. I mean, essentially it was a cold front, but the temperatures went from the high 60s, low 70s to 54 degrees yesterday morning, and I was expecting it to get deer on their feet, and it did. You know, and I had a really nice buck come in, and I think I know exactly which one it was. You know, and the problem is he snuck in on me, and the only reason that I seen him before he come in is I had some squirrels start going nuts in front of me, and I was like, well, I started looking that way to see what it was. And when I noticed this buck, I seen him, got the camera turned on, get it recording, grab my bow, and by the time I got the camera, you know, I turned the camera on, faced it towards him, grabbed my bow, and got ready, and looked back up. He done come out of the swamp and was standing there looking around, and he was facing me, so it ain't like I can just move. You know, and then there was some limbs in between me and him, but he was still seeing me move. Alright, so I was stuck in a predicament to where I just had to let him walk through my perfect opportunity. This is where I kind of get discouraged with the filming thing, which this is the first time the camera has costed me a deer. When he come through, if I wouldn't have been worried about the camera, you know, and just if I didn't have the camera, not so much, you know, and I choose to hunt this way with the camera, and I choose to make sure I do the camera correctly. So I'm not going to blame it on the camera, but it did cost me this deer. And this is why, because when I first seen that deer, if I didn't have the camera, I could have drawn back and wait on him to step out of that swamp, because I had time. I had plenty of time to do that before he stepped out. But because I choose to grab the camera, get it turned on, get it situated, make sure everything was in focus, and then grab my bow, I didn't have time to draw back and all that. You know, he just come in too fast. So I was going, as you can see on the video, I let him come out in front of me, and I had all this perfect opportunity to shoot him when he was in front of me. But, oh man, when he got to the back of the tree, or at least from my angle, I thought he was behind the tree. I draw back. He either heard me or saw something move when I draw back. And what's crazy is, you know, and he stopped. You can see him stop. And I was on the left side of the tree, my tree. And I was set up to where I was waiting on him to come past that tree that's in between me and him. And I was like, all right, as soon as he passes it, I got my shot. Well, when I draw back, he stops behind the tree, still on the right side of the tree. And I leaned over to the right side of the tree I'm sitting in. And I was like, well, I can see his vitals. But the way I had my camera set up, you know, and I set it up for shooting on the left side of the tree. And all my camera arm was on the right side. So I was going to have to move the camera to where I'd be able to shoot on the right side. Well, when I peeked around the right side of the tree, you can see he looks up. And then he kind of starts doing a little squat and stuff like he was getting ready to bolt. And then when I moved back to the left side, that's when he decided to get out of there. Moral of that story is me being impatient is what ultimately costed me that deer. You know, and the camera did get in my way, did cause me to miss the perfect broadside shot when he come in front of me, and that was about 15 to 17 yards, somewhere around there. I'd have had a perfect shot. But, you know, and I made that decision to carry the camera out there and to get everything on film, so it's still my fault. But me being impatient and not sitting still and letting that buck calm down and come out from behind that tree, you know, and it costed me that deer. And he run off, and he did stop, but he stopped so far away, you know, and I just had to let him go. You know, and then he ended up blowing and running through the woods like, I'll get out, because he knew where I was sitting at. But, man, that was my opportunity at a really nice buck. And it'd have been my biggest buck with the bow. You know, and he was a nice buck. I think it was the smaller 8-point out of all the bucks in there. But I just got a funny feeling it was that Big 10. It was either the Big 10 or one of the Big 8s. And it wasn't the one with the floppy ear, you know, and I got one that's got a broken ear. But it wasn't him. So it was either that real big 8 or the small 8 or the 10-point. And man, I hope it wasn't that Big 10 or the Big 8. You know, and that Big 8's a really nice buck too. You know, and, which I'd be happy with any of them. And the last few opportunities I've had, I've been screwing them up somehow. You know, and I was down in the dirt, big time down in the dump, I should say. You know, and this morning I got out here and I was able to shoot for 3 hours this morning. I shot my bow and worked myself through my issue I'm having, and I didn't have any crazy shots. So I just gotta try to remember that process that I got and work myself through it. But hey, if you like what you see, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video. We appreciate every one of y'all for watching the video. And stay tuned, we'll catch you on the next one.